me bad. You make me bad. You bring out the devil in me. Yeah, your loving has got me crazy. You bring out the devil in me. I sold my soul to be with you, baby. You bring out the devil in me. Yeah, your loving has got me crazy. You bring out the devil in me. I sold my soul to be with you, baby. Leave me out in the rain. To love you I would have to be insane. But there's nothing that I wouldn't do. I'm an angel but I'm a devil with you. I'm a good man but you make me bad. Ooh baby, I'm a good man but you make me bad. You make me bad. Bring out the devil in me. Yeah, your loving has got me crazy. You bring out the devil in me. Bring out the devil in me. I sold my soul to be with you, baby. You bring out the devil in me. Yeah, your loving has got me crazy. You bring out the devil in me. I sold my soul to be with you, baby. You, baby, with you, baby. You, baby, with you, baby. Oh. Yeah.
Komen jullie gauw? Voor de foto, ja. Nee, we gaan nog niet live, Frans. Good morning and welcome to the Female Tech Heroes, the Mentor Edition. Thank you all for watching because it's a special day. Our first edition of the Mentor Edition, so it's wonderful to see you and that you're watching. So for those of you who don't know us, Female Tech Heroes is an initiative that strives to create more diversity in the tech world. And we create awareness about that and put our female but also male heroes in the spotlights. And we try to learn from each other and bring people together. And that's exactly what we're going to do today, right, Hilde?
Yeah, definitely. Today is the first edition of our mentor sessions. And 30 awesome mentors will share their experiences and lessons learned about personal growth, innovation and networking, leadership, and many more subjects. And thanks to those 30 mentors, we can help 120 female tech heroes. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, that's really awesome. It's really good to see.
Yeah, and you all received a Microsoft Teams invitation with a time slot and a mentor. And each session will have one mentor, 4 awesome attendees, and 1 moderator of female tech heroes. But before we start with the mentor sessions, we will start our plenary event.
Exactly, because we have 2 inspiring talks lined up for you. From Judith Heikoop from IME Technologies, and also from Suzanne Leow of Google. And we're going to start with her, so give her a big virtual applause, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Suzanne Liu, and I work at Google as a marketing manager. And today we're all here to virtually learn and get inspired by each other. And I'm very excited to share first my story, followed by many more wonderful lessons from the mentors today. I also wanted to say that I really think that you're taking the right steps towards your ambition and all of your dreams to attend this session. And I think I'm also going to tell you why. But first, let me also start with my personal story, why I love working at Google, and then also how I actually got there. So, why do I love working at Google? To put it very simple, I really like to create and build new things with brilliant people. Being part of the development of future technologies that really can have a positive impact on many lives. Everyone knows Google as the search engine. And the mission, which is to make the world's information universally accessible and useful. And with making it universally accessible, we mean it really literally, so I'm going to show you here a picture. So here you can see a balloon. It's from Google's project called Loon. And as you may know, a lot of billions of users, billions of people, still have lack of access to the internet, and therefore also lack to information. And with these balloons, we send them into the stratosphere, creating a wireless network at remote places. So at Google, we also have other products like YouTube, Android, and Chrome. And all of them run on incredible cloud infrastructure called Google Cloud. And this is the division that I'm active in. Because with Google Cloud, we share the technology and solutions with other businesses to help them digitally transform, innovate, and accelerate. And I actually have an example for you to show you how. So we, for example, collaborate with NASA to find new planets using artificial intelligence. I'm going to show you now a video that explains a bit more.
There's a fundamental truth in our nature. Humans are curious. It's wired into our DNA to wonder about the world, the universe, and our place in it. So we ask questions, observe the answers, and gather information. Volumes and libraries and oceans of it. And now we finally have the tools powerful enough to help make sense of it all. To ask bigger, more meaningful questions. How can we use AI to identify the resources we'll need to live on the moon? So we can build an outpost there and use it to get to Mars. questions that help us look at problems in entirely new ways. How can we optimize millions of images to predict when the next great solar flare will occur? Will that give us enough time to protect the satellites that connect us all and avoid a power grid shutdown? Questions that are becoming increasingly more urgent. Can we generate hyper-accurate maps to identify a flood zone? That will help people evacuate before the rains even start? As the climate changes, what can we do to better protect our planet and everyone on it? Scientists from all over the world have come together to find answers to these questions, and others like them. Digging into their data, breaking it apart, prying insight and inspiration and progress from it, hoping to solve some of humanity's biggest problems.
So this was an example how we partnered up with NASA to help them. And a video is also an example of marketing to showcase others how we can help them with our Google Cloud solutions. But there are other ways. So for example, we host webinars, we had events, we took our customers before COVID to Silicon Valley to showcase them what is happening there and how they can be inspired to work with us, for example. And yeah, and that's also actually something that I really like about my job, because I like to be connected to people. And also I like to connect the dots and making something which is just an idea into something real and making great things happen in the end. So this is why I love to work at Google. But let me now also share with you how I actually got here. So here's a picture on the left of me when I was 3 years old. It was 1991, and this picture was taken in Singapore. And you can also see on the background a few skyscrapers, the first ones. And I'm showing this picture because when I was 3 years old, obviously Google was not my first dream job or where I wanted to work, because Google simply didn't even existed back then. But what I did want to become was actually a flight attendant at Singapore Airlines. Because until I was 5, we flew between the Netherlands and Singapore a lot. And when I saw these flight attendants, I thought, wow, they are so beautiful and they travel around the world. They are also very social. So that was actually my first dream job. Then on the right, you can see my mom. She's my role model as well. Because here she's pictured in Indonesia. This is where she was born and raised. And the picture is actually her first job at a print shop in Indonesia. And I'm showing this because my mom left Indonesia at a very young age, because she wanted to see more of the world than what was offered to her. So she and my dad moved to the Netherlands as immigrants because they wanted to have a better life. Singapore back then was also still developing. And what I really admire about my mom is that even though when she was working 60 hours a week as a waitress in a Chinese restaurant, she still showed me and my sister that you can still explore what you want to do and how you can achieve your own dreams. So for example, even when she was so busy, she still prioritized to take me to art classes, piano lessons, kung fu. I needed to learn Mandarin. And that taught me like at a very young age already like how to explore and discover what you like. So then when I became 18 years old, I left my hometown Venlo and I went to Amsterdam to study communication science. I really was getting more interested in marketing and PR, but I also still wasn't certain, so it gave me like an option to still think about what I wanted to become. To be honest, it also made choosing much more difficult. And I also wanted to mention here that because my parents were the first generation in the Netherlands, they were not able to give me certain career advice, or they didn't have like a network that they could introduce me to. They even didn't understand the whole educational system in the Netherlands. But what I did know is that I could discover that by myself. So one of the first steps that I have taken was, for example, to join Students for Children, which is an organization where I joined as a board member that supports educational projects in developing countries. And that helped me with developing my leadership skills, but actually it was really satisfying that I could be part of something meaningful, in my opinion. Also, what I did was join a masterclass that was organized by students with also a different background, like me. And this was very helpful because while my parents couldn't help me with answering lots of questions about career, they could. And they also helped me with opening doors to new places. So I suddenly I was on an assignment at Gilserijen for the Ministry of Defense, which was really cool and something I didn't thought before that I would go there. And other things that I did was attending business events, and also let's not forget the events that were organized by women for women, where I got inspired by female leaders. And all of these steps also took me into thinking I wanted to go abroad. So I decided to go on a project to Qatar, where I lived for a few months, where you can also see me pictured. Also, I went to Taiwan to practice my Mandarin, and I also stayed there for a few months. And I think that because of the steps that I have taken in the beginning, that all, were part of the whole discovery of what I would like. So that's why I said in the beginning of my speech already that I think you are all on the right track by choosing to attend this session. Because also today you can ask your mentors advice about your career, leadership skills, and entrepreneurship. I do want to say that I hope that all of you get a bit out of your comfort zone and also start exploring things, even though if you may find some more comfort in stability. Because when I was studying, there was also another crisis. It was called the financial crisis, followed by a recession. So when I graduated, I actually applied for an internship at L'Oréal, a large enterprise which products I still favor. And I still remember that people asked me, why would you start with an internship? But I really wanted to learn more about L'Oréal. So, and if I think back, I think it's one of the most grateful experiences that I had, because there were so many things covered about marketing, which I never learned during university. And after L'Oréal, I joined a startup, an educational startup. And I also can highly recommend that if you want to learn all about entrepreneurship or starting from scratch. And for me, it was because I wanted to try out something really different. And then finally, I joined Google. And this was for me actually the perfect balance between a large enterprise and Google also has a startup mentality. And I could also use all my experiences and knowledge from the large enterprises that I have worked for before, and also the startup, to make myself useful. So I just told you in the beginning why I love working at Google, but one thing that is also very close to my heart is actually diversity. So I think I'm used to being adaptive to other cultures since I was growing up. And that's good, but I think what's even greater is that when you feel you can be really yourself and you're with open-minded people. And I also think the team that you're working in is very important for your well-being. So I'm grateful that I can say that I can deal with a diverse group of colleagues every day and that I really enjoy that. And I wanted to also show you 3 female leaders at Google that I really like. So the first one is Yanping Li, who is the Vice President of Engineering at Google Cloud. The second is Ruth, who is the Chief Financial Officer. And the third one is Susan, the Chief Executive Officer at YouTube. At Google, we aim to have 50-50 gender parity, but I don't think we are still there yet. I mean, according to CIO.com, 24% of leadership roles are filled by women. Well, in the tech sector, I think it's critical that we have diversity in decision-making boards. Because when it comes to tech, enabling companies to make safer and better products, we need to consider everyone, and not just one segmentation of the society. So I've just shared why I love working at Google, which is because I like to be part of the development of future technologies, and also I really like to be connected to people. And I also wanted to say that I wouldn't be the person here today if it wasn't for my role models, mentors, or my family. And that taught me also another thing, and that is how important it is to uplift each other. And if I could give you one key takeaway, that would be stay open-minded, explore, and really use the opportunity of today to discuss all of that with your mentors. And enjoy.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. Would you like to sit down for a short Q&A?
Sure.
Perfect. So in the YouTube chat, you can also ask questions. And we already received a question from Mechtold, who said, in your opinion, what is female leadership? How does that look like?
Thank you for the question, Merel. For me, female leadership is actually, I mean, it can also be leadership, right? Why call it female leadership? Because I don't want to generalize women at all, to be honest. So, and for me, leadership, in my opinion, would be really, taking everyone into consideration while you're making decisions. That's one very important thing, and also I think to be confident to take decisions at all when it's important. So these are for me 2 examples of leadership.
You talked about diversity and how important it is for you also within Google. What do you do to create more diversity in Google?
Yeah, so that's a good question. As I said during my speech, at Google we strive for 50-50 gender parity. And I think that's also because in our mission statement it says that we want to make products better and safer for everyone, right? And two activities that I can mention is what we have are, for example, employee resource groups. And these are like people clubs we have that you can volunteer to join. And some of them are called Women at, Pride at, or Mosaic, which is focused on diversity. And at Google, we have 35,000 colleagues that joined these clubs or these employee resource groups. And when we are creating products or solutions, we actually run them by these groups as well to make sure that everyone has an opinion on that and can share that.
And the technology is diverse.
Yeah, so the technology will be diverse. And another example that I can give is I joined Women at and Mosaic. And Women at, 2 weeks ago, we had the I Am Remarkable week. So if you Google I Am Remarkable, you can find women empowerment sessions that we organized. They're all on demand, so you can watch them. And we had Naomi Campbell, who is also someone that I really like. She's a top model. And she also shared what she did and what her achievements were and how she did it. So I really like these kind of talks as well to empower everyone. Yeah.
What did you remember what she said? What was her biggest lesson learned, for example? What did she say?
Actually, one of her biggest lessons that I remember, and that's also something I took in my speech, is that she thinks it's really important to uplift each other, and that otherwise she also wouldn't be someone like she would be right now. So that's something that I also like, that she had the same mindset, that it's all about empowering each other.
And helping each other.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we're doing here today. So
yeah.
That's wonderful. Last question. You talked about your mentors and people who helped you to get a step further. What is your biggest lesson learned?
Well, I actually discussed something with my mentor the other day, and I remember always what she says, and that is that you can have it all in some way. And I really like that, because sometimes you hear from others, you have to choose. If you do this, you can't do that. And I don't like that kind of mindset. So for me, it's like you can have it all, and it's never too late. And maybe, I think you know Mindy Howard as well. She will be the first female astronaut of the Netherlands.
Also a female tech hero?
Yes, she's a female tech hero. And she first had a career at Shell. And then she decided, okay, but now I really want to follow my dream. I'm going to be an astronaut. And I think that's amazing. So that's also like what I mean with you can have it all in some way.
You just have to go for it.
Yes.
And keep going.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Give her a big applause here. We have a few people in the room. Thank you so much. Can I have your clicker, please?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much. So I will clean this. And I think we're getting ready for our next speaker of today. It's great to see that you're watching with so many people. And if you have questions, just send them in the chats and we can answer them all. So I think it's time. Judith Heikoop, give her a very big applause, please.
Ingeloe, thank you very much for inviting me here to present about my career in combination with the wonderful company I work for right now, IME Medical Electrospinning. And I'm going to start first with telling something about my career. When I was at the very beginning of my career, somebody told me there are two ways of looking at your career. The first way is think of where you want to end up, finally, after you have done everything you wanted to do. And that's a straight line. However, the problem is that if you fall off the straight line, you might not reach where you're going to, and you might be very disappointed. The other way of looking at your career is just do where you have meaningful learning experience, where you do different things that you really like, and enjoy the routes going down where you might end up, and that could be anything, because you have meaningful experiences. And that is what my career was like. And actually, I've put a mind map here on the first slide to show all the different avenues you can explore. However, the drawback of that route is that sometimes you end up in a dead end, in a corner you don't want to be. So you have to fight yourself out of that corner and reinvent yourself again. But I think in this fast-changing world, that's a very nice skill to have anyway. So I started my career being trained as a scientist. I'm trained as a chemist. And actually, I stayed too long in the academic world because that was finally not the place I wanted to be. So I was trained as a chemist. I did a PhD in medicine and even did a postdoc, finding myself behind the bench and thinking, hey, this is not me. I want to work with people. So then I decided to join a pharmaceutical company, Organon, that was then located in Brabant in the Netherlands and was the largest pharmaceutical company in the Netherlands. And I joined as a scientist because everybody thought I was a scientist. But after half a year, I was invited to give a presentation for their marketing departments, and I was invited to travel the world with gynecologists to explain that recombinant DNA technology was not dangerous and that it could really help to reinvent medicine. At this point in time, the market for biologics, those products that are not small chemical molecules, but biological molecules, is half of the pharmaceutical market. But by then, it was new, completely new. So I thought, okay, now I'm on the right track. I want to do business. So I asked my boss if I could get a business position after 2 years. And he said, no, please stay in the lab for another 3 years, and then we will think about if we can find a business position for you. And that made me leave. I left to McKinsey to do something completely different, consulting, and learned what the business world is like. However, I found out at McKinsey that I have a love for healthcare, and that I really wanted to work for companies that are involved in that area. So very soon I was traveling the world, and I was working in Brussels, I was working in Copenhagen, and even in the US, to finally discover that I was not a consultant, but I really wanted to do it myself. So I entered into business development. And I learned a lot about business development from my boss at Crucell, who basically didn't coach me a lot instead of a one-liner every month. And those one-liners I still use on a daily basis. And I started to love business development in my own world, the healthcare world. So I worked for Crucell, I worked for Numico, and I ended up with DSM before I found out that I wanted to run my own show. So I started my own company. I worked as a consultant in business development for over 10 years, and I had a lot of fun with a lot of different companies. And then what happened, I was asked by the former strategy director of Organon to look at a company that was at that point in time in Geldrop, a very, very small company. And sometimes I describe it as the garage of one of the large software companies in this world. And you can see here the garage, how it started at the Technical University in Eindhoven. And on the picture, you see the founder of IME, Ramon Solberg, who started to reinvent medical, or actually at that point in time, electrospinning. He took the company out of the university in 2012 and started to design machines. And he moved to Geldrop, where I found a company which still looked a little bit like a garage and a little bit like the picture there. And one of the first things we did when I joined the company in 2018 is move, because we wanted to target another market and another customer base. Now, what are we actually doing? And what you can see here are two pictures. On the right-hand side, you see the human bones. And everybody knows the skeleton that keeps up the human body. However, in the human body, there are more skeletons. And they consist of very, very soft materials based on very, very small fibers. And they hold the heart together, they hold the kidneys together, they hold the skin together. So they are very, very important, but not so well known as the very harsh skeleton, the bone skeleton. Now these parts of the human body consist of nanofibers. And what you can see here is a picture of a hair with nanofibers on top of it. So they are very, very small, more than 100 times smaller than a hair. And they come in many shapes and forms, and they are very important in the human body. Now, why are these nanofibers so important? Because you can use them to put in medical devices to regenerate the body. And basically, you can regenerate the body, for example, a heart valve in the heart. You can put a skeleton, and you see that on the bottom, on the right-hand side, a skeleton which looks like a heart valve, which consists of nanofibers. You can put in the heart to replace a heart valve, and then natural tissue grows on top of that. Now, what did we do with the company? As I said, when I joined the company in 2018, we were selling machines. We were selling machines. Sorry, I think sometimes it's just going around. We were selling machines that could make those nanofibers. And actually, we were selling those machines to universities because the technology was very new and people were exploring the technology. However, at that point in time, there were already a lot of our machines worldwide at universities. We sold about 100 machines, and the market was sort of saturated. Because, of course, universities don't have huge budgets, and when they have something new and the machine doesn't go broken, they can work for it for years. But we wanted to bring the technology to patients, because that is much more exciting if you can help patients with new medical devices. So we started to transform the company and make it a much more industry-focused company, focusing on the medtech and the pharma industry. Now, this was a rather bumpy road. And that is why I put this picture in the slides, to keep all the plates in the air. Because, you know, you can think of doing something, but at that point in time, we didn't have the money to put in marketing. We didn't have the money to think for a year, how can we keep up this company and change the business model? We had to earn every penny ourselves. So I went out into the market together with the founder of IME and looked for immediate opportunities, because every month we knew that if we wouldn't sell something, the company might go broke. So that was a very, very difficult period. And in the meantime, we started to focus on a new market, the medical market. We changed the business model. We made a lot of noise in the markets. We went out to the US, started to talk on conferences, organized our own conferences. We started to engage in the standard discussions because this was a new technology. And if nobody knows how to standardize it, how can you make medical devices? Because it won't be allowed to the market. And we started to transform the team. Because, of course, the team had a certain way of working, but now we had other customers and we wanted to become customer-oriented. And I think if you look at what my role was in this company, is making a technology-driven company much more customer-oriented. And that might sound easy, but it's not. Because everybody at one point in time is engaged in a customer conversation. And it basically means that the entire team needs to become customer-oriented, and everything you do needs to become customer-oriented. And I think we are still in this transformation, and it's one of the most harsh transformations you can go through. But luckily, I did a little bit of those things earlier in my career as well. Now, the end of this entire, maybe I should call it fight. It was a fight to survive. It was a fight to survive with the team and with the founder to make this company ready for scaling. The end of this situation was almost not there, because then we had COVID. And at the beginning of this year, one of our customers was a Chinese customer, and already we started to feel COVID already in January. China closed down, and we couldn't get any contact with that customer anymore. Now, we know all that in March we had COVID in Europe. We couldn't travel to the US anymore, and we were sitting in a plane coming from Ireland, and in Ireland, a week before we came to the Netherlands, there was already much more going on, and it was much more strict. And in the airport, we decided to start working in teams in the company, and that actually saved us. So we also had to, and I hate the word, but we had to be a little bit agile. We had to prevent that anybody in our company could infect one of his colleagues. And actually, one of our colleagues indeed got sick, and we managed to keep the company going. And still, we didn't have a sense to innovate and to grow. And I'm so happy and I'm so proud that in September, we managed to raise 3 million euros. From 3 investors and also from the Rabobank. And this really made a difference, because then, after September, we were ready for takeoff. And although we still have COVID, we could invest really in the team. We could invest in really building our final machine that is going to conquer the markets. And we could really invest in preparing ourselves to conquer the world. Now, this is actually the basis of our business model. This is our large-scale production machine. So we are capable of producing these medical devices on an industrial scale. And that is going to make the difference, because if you can't make a reproducible, scalable medical device, why would you do any research? Because you can't bring it to the patients. So we are ready to bring this technology to the patients. And we are ready to develop a wide variety of medtech and pharma products. Now, we already signed, during the last 2 years, several co-development projects, and we are actually a very, very international company. So we signed deals in the medtech industry, we signed deals in the pharma industry, and we are innovating all the time. And you might think we are there, but we are not. This is just a new beginning. This is just a new plateau. And now we really have to take a lot of other hurdles to become really a large company, to become the game changer in the medtech industry, to become the game changer in the pharma industry. And we have aspirations that are as large as become the Google of our industry. And every time there will be new hurdles, and there will be new people we need to take these hurdles. And basically what I also would like to announce here is that we are hiring a lot of people. We have a very male-dominant environment, and we also would like to have a more inclusive culture. So currently we are hiring a CBO and a COO, and we will hire many more people after that. And my aspiration is to have, within the next 10 years, hundreds or maybe thousands of people that are working on improving patients' lives. So if you are interested to join us, here is our contact information. On the slide, you can also see part of our team with 1.5 meter distance. We would love that to change in the future. And if you are interested, please contact us. Thank you very much for your time and interest.
Thank you so much, Judith. Would you like to sit down for the Q&A? Because we also got a lot of questions. And a lot of people are really curious about the one-liners you talked about.
Okay, one of the one-liners, for example, was you shouldn't want a deal too much. So if you really think I need to have that deal, you are not going to have it because your counterpart, you are too eager, your counterpart will notice, and then you lose it.
It's like playing hard to get a little bit.
But that's also wrong, because if you do that too much, you also lose the deal. So it's always about the balance, and it's always about the interest of both of the parties.
And how do you do that? How do you make sure you are interested enough, but not too eager?
Okay, I think you always have to set your boundary. So what are you going to accept and what are you not going to accept at the beginning? So not during the process. So you need to know what you want out of it, and you need to ask your customer and understand what your customer wants out of it. And then you can meet somewhere in the middle.
Interesting. And we also got a question from Garrett. He asked, congratulations on the 3 million, he said, but he also said, how can others achieve the same? What would you advise them?
Basically, it's keep going. It's a very, very difficult process, but also here it's the same. Define where you want to end up and basically keep going. But also look at your environment. So make sure that you do what you need to do to keep the company going. And it's very difficult. And I have to say we worked too hard the last couple of years, but we made it.
And how does it feel now?
It actually, first I didn't realize it, but now we are hiring people, and now that we are working on all kinds of elements that are important for our company, now that we are finishing our final machine, it becomes like, wow, it's really going to happen.
This is the great part of the work, right?
Yes. But then, of course, we want to grow the company, and we want to become relevant to a huge population of patients. And to do so, we have to do a lot of collaborations and a lot of deals, and we really want to work with the largest medtech and pharma companies in the world. So, I mean, it's not easy,
it's
but
a big challenge.
We will make it, because we have the best technology, thanks to the team.
And about that team, you're looking for new people.
Yes.
What if someone is watching and thinks, okay, maybe it's something for me, but I'm not sure. Why should they work with IME Technologies?
I think there are two elements. We have the best technology worldwide to really bring this innovation to the market. And secondly, we are a young company. So you can really help to craft the company and help to build a new Apple, a new Google in the medtech industry. So if you are interested in the patient's future, and if you are interested in technology and how to implement technology, I think this is the best opportunity worldwide.
Beautiful description. Thank you so much for your time, Judith.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, and applause. We have a few people in the room. So thank you, Judith. So I think it's time, and I think we are ready for a day full of mentor sessions. So you have a time slot, and you will see your mentors today at your time, and we will talk about leadership, about personal growth, about entrepreneurship, and many more. So thank you for joining, and we hope to see you next time. Good luck today.